The creative sector is a tradable economy where we say you must create, you must produce, and then you must commercialize it or monetize it.
Things like that. So that kind of exchange where I'm able to learn and connect as a filmmaker or an actor, I think across regions would be very beneficial in Africa.
Not long ago, a Nigerian song topped global charts. A South African brand lit up Paris runways, and a Rwandan film won international awards. These moments remind us that Africa's creativity is not just local talent, it's global influence. Hello, and welcome to State of Africa. I'm Jeff Morte. Now today, we explore the continent's creative economy, an engine of identity, influence, and wealth. According to the UNESCO Creative Economy Report, Africa's cultural and creative industries generate $58 billion annually and employ nearly 5 million people. The African Union recognizes them as a priority for transformation, while UNCTAD highlights their potential as a driver of trade, jobs, and soft power worldwide. The question is, how can these industries be scaled into structured powerhouses with stronger IP protection, cross-border reach, and sustainable opportunities for Africa's young people? Joining me are two thought leaders, Pamela Mutembei from the Heva Fund and Tendaiishe Chitima, an actress from Zimbabwe. Pamela, I'll start with you on this. When we talk about Africa's creative economy, what does it mean in practical terms? When you want it to actually drive this economy, get some money out of it, what does it look like? Because you're crunching numbers day to day. What does it mean?
The creative sector is a tradable economy where we say you must create, you must produce, and then you must commercialize it or monetize it. So for it to be tradable, sellable, we have to actually do the creation and we have to do the production of it to be able to monetize it. It's as simple as that.
Tendaiishe, I want to come to you and still use those three pillars we've been given by Pamela in terms of what the creative economy stands for. We're talking about creating, producing, monetizing. As an actress, where do you feel the gap is? Where is the challenge for you and your craft when you're trying to scale this and take it to a continental level, a global level as well?
As an actress, I think you kind of, it's almost like a waiting game, which is not right, in my opinion. There has to be a way in which I think actors also need to, I think, start making their own stories and being part of the full process. And I think we see that a lot in Hollywood where actors end up being producers as well, and they create their own work and content. That's been very, very big right now, especially with the Me Too movement. A lot of women have become producers and directors, which is exciting to see. I'll give an example of where I'm actually from Zimbabwe. There isn't a lot of productivity. We call our industry a community, not an industry, because we're still infrastructurally, we're still developing a lot. And so imagine me as an actress. If I was only an actress, I would be waiting in an industry that isn't even productive. So basically, you may not have work for a long time. That said, I think there are a lot of things that are improving slowly but surely. I think the fact that I was able to study in South Africa and start my career in South Africa shows that there can be some kind of regional cohesiveness or regional kind of market access that can be beneficial. So that kind of exchange where I'm able to learn and connect as a filmmaker or an actor, I think across regions would be very beneficial in Africa, definitely.
Pam, when you look at Heva Fund and the plug that is, it's trying to, bring into this particular gaps that we are seeing, we've spoken about creating, producing, monetizing. What's Heva Fund doing in this particular ecosystem as well?
Heva is born out of a collective of artists. So the pain that Ashita is talking about, they understood it very well and decided now to start a collective. So I see where you're headed with making of an industry in Zimbabwe. It will happen because Heva was born out of a collective of artists who felt the pain that people or the industry or the economy was ignoring them, was not understanding. I'll tell you that Heva means happily ever after. They wanted a happy ever after for the artists. So we call ourselves a catalyst meaning that we do three things. We literally give them money, we finance artists and the creative industry. We do the technical capacity building, which is very important. It's something that we have seen because a lot of creatives have many challenges like initial early stage businesses would have because that's how we see creatives as commercial enterprise, as a monetizable business. Yeah. So we do a lot of capacity building and training. And one of the other most important things we do is research. We have a very big research and advisory arm where we actually go to the nitty-gritties of collecting data, because data is required for us to be able to deploy better models for the industry, where we also do even legislation and policy and advocacy work for governments. And we actually write papers for development institutions, we write papers for governments, so as to just let them understand what is required in the creative sector.
Fantastic, amazing insights when it comes to that. We're inching closer to our first break on the show, but Tendaiishe, I want to come to you very quickly, because how have you managed to, scale this talent into a career? Because very many people, at that particular level are wondering, okay, fine, I'm told I'm a talented artist, probably in high school or in uni, did a couple of plays. How do I take this to the next level? What opportunities opened those doors and shaped your career?
Thank you for that question. And I think it's a very important one, because what I've realized is that a lot of people, a lot of young people, like Pamela said, are creatives or have creative talent, and they really don't know how to go about creating a career and monetizing it. And that's also because I think of the informal structures that we have in our industry. There's no clear pathway to say, okay, this is what you do. When you're an accountant, okay, this is what I'm going to do. These are the exams I need to take in order to make it, and I'm probably going to get a job in corporate. But because of that lack of infrastructural career path or guidance, a lot of people don't actually know how to do it. And I must say, it is probably true across the board that there is no formula exactly. So for me as well, there wasn't really a formula that I followed, but I did know that I wanted to be a film actor. I studied theater, but I was very sure that I wanted to be on screen. And so I started making, when I think about career paths, it's a lot of it is, if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, you realize that it's true what he says, that some of it is just basic luck or fate or destiny, I think, because there's some things you can't explain in your career. Some things happen when you're not expecting them. For example, when I graduated, my parents had said, you need to look for a job in PR, or, because acting was not, they didn't understand what that was. And so while I was trying to get into the PR and waiting to do a marketing job somewhere, I met another actor in South Africa who used to be on Generations, actually. I don't know if you'd know her. She's called Sithandwe Goroge. And when she met me, she looked at me and she said something very important. She said, "You look like you could be on TV." And I say this story because you can't do it on your own. A lot of people, I think, sometimes we're in silos and we're trying to hustle and do things on our own, but really the stories that are full of success are usually stories that where you meet someone who connects you to something else. So she connected me to an agent. And again, this is again about the structural issues that we have in Africa. In South Africa, they have agents and managers who work with actors to connect them to jobs.
I want to talk about one issue, and this one, Pam, squarely, I think, in your court, and this is intellectual property when it comes to IP and the gap that we find therein. Because as you can see, Tendaiishe will be going around telling amazing stories. Tai will be there, producing amazing stories. But how do we, as a continent, own this particular creativity that we have? Because that really is what IP is. Where's the gap in that, and how can creatives start thinking about that at the onset to protect themselves?
The IP is an asset. So first, see how you protect it. Do you trademark it? Do you copyright it? Do you, put protections and mitigations around your IP? I think that we have a lot of things that we need to do in the ecosystem as we are building around IP and IP lending models. I'll speak from that because that's what I would be doing. That we should be able to register IPs. Government should be able to put up registries, and especially regional registries, because we are trading these things. We have talked about Afrobeats, Amapiano. There's an East African sound. I mean, maybe not as popular, but these are things that we can be able to trade across regions. So they should be registered across regions and respected across regions. We should be able to see that I can be able to give money against your current value of your IP. We should have then what I would say valuation models around that, that I can value this is the worth of this asset right now and future projections of it. I want to speak to someone who I usually see doesn't go to the studio anymore. I think Mariah Carey. But every Christmas, last Christmas, I Give You My Heart, we are all singing. So can you imagine if that was a creator here in Africa and we were able to value future projections of that? I mean, or even the big artists that are no longer alive. I like Tupac. So stuff like that. How can we value future earnings of these artists and give money against that? Someone spoke about very patient capital. I think it's in the emerging markets. It's something that what I would call blended finance, that how I'm supporting a fashion industry is very different from how I'm supporting an artist. An actor is very different from how I'm also supporting the producer. How different I'm supporting someone who is doing fashion. So blended models around those assets. Assets here, will be clear, is IP. Around those assets is how we can look at it. Unfortunately, in our continent, it's a one size fits all. Do you have land? Do you have a title? But I'm thinking that we should be using blended models to each creative at the point of their needs.
And we're looking at Africa's creative economy. How do we scale this? How do we grow this? How do we get economic prosperity out of it? Back with more after the break. Welcome back to State of Africa. If you're just joining us, we're unpacking how soft power can translate into hard currency. With us are Pamela Mutembei from the Heva Fund and Tendaiishe Chitima, an actress from Zimbabwe. Let's now look at how intellectual property rights and regional integration can boost Africa's creative industries. Tendaiishe, I want to come to you because I want you to speak to this from an individual level because, being an actress by and large is an individual craft. How are you looking about, enhancing your brand, getting more visibility so that in terms of how marketable you are in that particular space, you're getting top dollar, you're getting fair compensation. What have you done that's worked? What are you currently doing as you move forward for others who are also on the same road as you?
The individual, unfortunately, does not live in isolation. So the same institutional issues affect the individual, basically. So something that I've been very, very fortunate to do is to study an MBA. So I did business. I studied business, and it completely shifted my mind. I think I would encourage every creative to be exposed to some kind of business education, because it shifted my thinking in how I saw myself. And if a creative is really seeing themselves as a business, then those policies that may seem institutional are very important for your business as a creative, right? You want to know, like we're saying now, how do I produce? How do I leverage on regulations? How do I leverage on even IP, right? All that stuff is policy that affects my creative work when I am creating and producing so I can monetize. And when we talk about monetization and policy work, even with the AFCFTA, it's basically everyone coming together as a collective. So all the individuals coming together as a collective to agree on what is the standard of production, what is the standard that we are all agreeing on, to protect ourselves and to create sustainable careers. For me, that is very, very important. And so I've been a part of some movements, you might say. In South Africa, I was a part of SWIFT, which is Sisters Working in Film and Television. It was a collective of individual female filmmakers who came together, again, to push for policy change in terms of how women were being treated or how we were showing up in the industry, the kind of work that we had available for ourselves. And it's something I want to start again in Zimbabwe. I've already started the process of bringing together women in the industry, again, to protect us. Sometimes there is still, sexual harassment and exploitation in that kind of way. But the fact that is the individual still needs to be part of a collective or an institution, because those policies still trickle down and affect the one person.
Pamela, I want to come to you on this as well. What should creatives look at when they're trying to attract this particular investment? What skills or training should they put together to be investment ready as well?
I feel like we do so much work around capacity building and technical support early on before we engage with creatives, but it's still something that continues to recur in our industry. What we do require is that be able to put your documentation together, at least on the onset, register your business, simple things such as those, yeah. Be able to translate that if I get this, these are the numbers that I hope to churn out. I mean, like, what we're trying to hear is what revenues, when you're coming to an investor. So, but it starts with as basic thing as ensuring that you have a business, that you've registered this creative enterprise as a business. That is important. I'll go back to the question on the Continental Trade Agreement. There's some things that are your responsibility as a creative to ensure that you have done the proper registration around that. But even as other stakeholders, Jeff, next time in this conversation, you need to have policymakers, because I think they are the ones that sort of create these barriers, because even in that free continental trade agreement, the creative sector isn't considered as a business. So they want us to move goods, as you said, cocoa beans, tea, but we are already moving the creative, and I call it a tradable economy. It already moves. When there's a show happening here from an artist from the continent, people from other parts of the continent do come. If we're coming to see Burna Boy in Lagos, we're coming from Nairobi, we're coming from wherever we're coming from. That is tradable economy. We should have free movement. If we're moving equipment, how am I stopped at the airport, or how am I stopped at the border? What licenses or taxation is required of me to bring in this equipment that I'm coming with? So there's a lot of work that needs to happen with the Continental Trade Agreement to also understand that creatives are a business, they're an enterprise that should move freely and be able to trade freely. Because currently what you're seeing is that collaboration between me as an individual talking to maybe a theater or a club owner, but it should be something that should be open to governments and public, that there's an artist coming, there should be rebates on taxes. They should be within the agreement as any other trade or goods or services that are moving in the continent. Also engaging experts, whether it is on regulation, whether it is on taxation, whether it's on marketing, whether it's on branding. Engage experts around your pitch, so that by the time you're coming to sell your dream holistically. I think that's usually very important. We can dwell on how we also try to help them. We give you templates and pitch decks to how to feel. But I think most importantly is believe in your vision, have a user journey that can clearly be seen, be able to translate your vision into revenues and into something that an investor can see where the money is at, where at the point at which you're going to make the money. And me, as an investor, I want to see at the point at which I will get my return back. So it's that.
I want to come to you, Tendaiishe, on this as well. Because if you look down, your tunnel, your crystal ball, and you were to pick one quick win that you feel would really boost the creative sector, for the next 5 years. Just one quick win. You're like, this is a low-hanging fruit. If we got this, we'd, catalyze what we're doing. What would that be from what you've seen so far?
Honestly, I still think the money issue is important. But okay, I'll say money and financing, because I'll give a reason why. I think having that block of, or like just what do they call it, a piggy bank, or like a bank of money, which apparently we now have. I think if Afrexim Bank and all these investors in Africa as well, and a lot of investors are trying to invest. I think now that the money is here, I think what needs to happen is that money needs to then now fund not just the actual filmmaking or music production. I think what it needs to fund is the infrastructure, because that's one of the things that really is important. And when I say infrastructure, I mean everything to do with the grassroots, from grassroots up until the final value chain point, because right now as we are speaking, maybe we don't have a creative collective that is lobbying for our rights, because maybe there isn't money to create that organization. Maybe that's the reason. I know for a fact I started an organization called Lawyers for the Arts South Africa with some friends and colleagues, and one of the issues is that lawyers don't want to work in the entertainment industry in Africa because they assume there's no money. When I say entertainment, I mean there are some entertainment lawyers who work, I think, and I've met some in Nigeria who work in the music space, because I think they do make a certain amount of money, which is great. But in the rest of the arts, like the film and they don't feel like they make enough money. So if we have some kind of money to kind of fund or kickstart the various things, not even the production. Like I said, if you sort out the infrastructural issues, if you sort out the educational and training issues, perhaps there'll be more productivity, which would lead again to more money. So it's kind of like investing. I think it's about seeing it as a value chain where the capital is is basically funding the production and the processing, and even the final bit where we're getting a return in the end. I think it has to be money, but money being used in a specific way, intentionally, to make more money. Um, yeah, so sometimes you could have like a lot of production, but it's bad production, like it's not good quality. Um, so we need money to ensure that we are ticking the right boxes, like what Pamela was saying, those boxes need to be ticked. And then so that we can make more money. It's like a cycle, like a value chain cycle.
Pamela, I want to come to you as we bring this to a close, because from where you stand in the work you're doing, not only in Nairobi, East Africa, but the continent at large, how do you envision, Africa's creative economy evolving, by 2030 and beyond? When you look at it, with the investment put right, this IP put in place, the creatives upskilling, what's that big picture? What should we be driving to as a continent?
Big picture, I'm thinking public funds or sovereign funds. It's time that our governments in this continent cared enough about this sector that employs over 60% of the youth of this continent, which is a very young continent. So I think public funds, and when I mean public funds, is if they provide a first loss guarantee, then we as investors can be able to put in more money. Yeah, we can be able to put money, because the creative enterprise is seen as a very risky area. So people still don't understand collateral as an asset. So sorry, IP as an asset. So we see that is not collateral.
Every time a young African uploads a song, designs a fashion line, or tells a story on film, they are rewriting Africa's place in the world. Creativity here is more than expression. It's aspiration turned into opportunity. That's all for this episode of State of Africa. We've heard how Africa's creative economy is shaping global culture and redefining the continent's identity. From financing models to cross-border collaboration, one thing is clear: creativity is a driver of jobs, wealth, and influence. A big thank you to our panelists, Pamela Mutembei from the Heva Fund and Tendaiishe Chitima, an actress from Zimbabwe, for their insights. I'm Jeff Mote. Thank you for watching State of Africa. We look forward to connecting with you on our socials. Until next time, bye-bye.